Good morning. Welcome to part 9. I believe it's part 9 of Art of Keith Busher Precious Mutation Skull Sconce tutorial. Mixing up a little bit of clay here so we can start working on the second skull. As per usual, we are using Aves Epoxy Sculpt. If you're looking to find some of the same clay so that you can follow along and make your own stuff, you can find it at www.avesstudio.com. That's AVESstudio.com. And yeah, it's a 2-part epoxy clay. Mix it together. It's self-drying. You don't have to bake it. So if you're working over plastic or styrofoam or wood, you don't have to worry about starting a fire, that sort of thing. Okay, so yesterday, or 2 days ago rather, we were talking about the eyes. So we started a little bit of work on the bigger skull, and I showed you how pulling a bit of yarn and thread creates good veins in the eyes. So that's what I've done here. You can see the result. Since that video, I've added a couple of layers of glaze to it. I'm probably going to add at least one more thick layer to it, because what I'm trying to do is basically the threading will stick out a little bit and create a texture. So when you're trying to paint the eye, if you don't have a nice smooth surface, it can be a little bit difficult. So I'm just trying to smooth out that surface, trying to kind of get it to level out. But that's just something I add on in between things that I'm doing, and then the glaze dries pretty quick, usually within about 10 minutes or so. Okay, so we're gonna go back to this piece. I finally got around to, I still need to add his ear on this one side, but we've got the one ear, we've got the back of the head now. There's a little bit of a seam here, as you see, but that's alright, because we're going to cover it with a bit of hair and stuff like that anyway, so it really doesn't get seen. I've added texture in case people are really looking, but we're pretty much ready for paint on this bottom skull guy here. So that's pretty cool. And the paint will really bring this to life. When we start adding the layers and everything like that, you'll see how this really comes to life. Now, for the second skull, I wanted to try something a little bit different. It's very easy to kind of fall into a comfort zone and keep sculpting the same thing over and over and over again. So that's what we're going to try and avoid doing here. Plus, it's a tutorial, so I want to kind of show you as much as I can on different styles and different things. So for this one, what I was thinking is we're going to try and do a slightly chubbier face. Think of the guy that they pulled out of the well in The Walking Dead season 2, I think it was, when they're on the farm. Or think like the pregnant woman from Dawn of the Dead, when they're in the mall. The woman, I don't know, was she the pregnant one? I can't remember. Anyways, there was a larger woman who turned into a zombie there. And the big thing that you need to think about, and I know all of my older viewers will groan at this, and younger viewers will be like, what are you talking about? And that's the effect that gravity has on bodies. So when you get older and you add a few more pounds, and those muscles start to relax, and your muscles are never more relaxed than when you're dead, things will sag, things will pull down, right? I mean, if you're laying on your back, they're going to sag to the side, but it's just basically going to try to find the lowest point. So because this is being hung up like this, obviously everything's going to try and sag down this way. So if we're going to try and make this look a little more believable, a little more realistic, then we're going to have some kind of pull on the way to that skin, right? The muscles are all relaxed now because they're dead. Everything is starting to sallow. Muscles and skin are pulling away from the bone. The connective tissue is deteriorating, so everything's going to start to pull down and away. So because we've sculpted this guy here already, we need to kind of work around him. So whereas on this guy, we started with the top lip and everything like that, and then we did the eye sockets, here I think I'm going to start with the chin or chins that we're going to add on to him, the bottom lip and the chins that we can start to add on to him. So we have this guy's brow right here, and then it's going to go down into the ear. We've already sculpted the neck, which helps hold the piece on to the sconce. But what we're going to have to do is kind of go around that brow, over that brow. Just trying to think. A lot of this, everything I do, I spend a lot of time, my spare time. If I'm doing something monotonous at work, like last night I was doing a lot of sanding, it gives me time to think about what I'm doing and what's next for the project that I'm doing, and so on and so forth. And that goes a long way. A lot of the stuff that I do, as per usual, I have my tools on hand here. A lot of the stuff I do is kind of improvisational in the fact that it's kind of just stuff I build on the fly. And I'm like, oh, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? Right? So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of adding that little bit of a second chin that comes down. And if this doesn't work, like I said, anything is fixable. We can always sand it down. I don't know if you guys started watching that video that I made 2 days ago about the next piece that we're going to be mutating, which was the little kid kneeling in front of what I'm assuming is a stained glass window and praying, and I'm going to do kind of a Cthulhu creature coming out of that window like it's a portal to another dimension. So you saw that I had already started that as a piece. So right now, I don't have to worry about too much detail because I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. So I'm going to stick this there so I have something there. Much in the same way that we discussed, before building a skull. It's better to have it there than to try and stick those bottom layers on after. And you always want to start as far back as possible and work your way forward, because you can't get it when you're sculpting. It's hard to get in behind what you've already created. So you want to start from the back and you want to start layering it out. In the same way that you paint, you're not going to paint the undertones first and then try and do the highlights. Or sorry, you are going to do the undertones first and not try and do the highlights first and then try and go back and get the undertones. Sculpting is the same way. We're going to start with muscle tissue. We're going to start with bone, then you're going to go with muscle tissue, then you're going to go with skin and those sorts of things. Anyway, so I don't know if you guys saw how badly I was fighting to get the lump of clay off that I had already put onto that piece. But I took it into work and I used a sander, like an industrial grinder sander, and it still took me like 2 minutes to get that little tiny piece of clay off of that piece, because that's how good it sticks. But I did it because everything is fixable. I managed to get it. So I'm trying to build layers here to make this guy look kind of chubby, and we're gonna have it really saggy, and I'm thinking like really stretchy back here where it goes into the cheeks and stuff, maybe even deteriorating, showing some of these back teeth. So that'll be kind of cool. So what we want to do is kind of add, so we're using a round tool, we're just blending those two layers together. Right, you want it to look pretty natural, like a nice even flow. You don't want it like too deep set or anything. I just added this piece of skin earlier this morning, so this part might still be a little bit malleable too, but that's alright. Right, and we're trying to work around the contours. We're trying to make it look natural, like it's just drooping down. Now what I'm going to do with this guy's lip, like I said, we're going to come right up into here, because we're going to go right up into that area there. But we really want to make it look like, I really want to make it look like it's kind of just starting to fall away from the face. So you want, see, this is why we added all that detail into the gums and everything, a bit of a gappage here, right? That kind of separation that it looks like any minute now it's just going to fall away from the face. Using a knife here. like basically the only thing that's kind of holding this bottom lip on now. The idea is these parts back here. So like everything's starting to pull away. A little bit of water helps not have those little parts. Right. Oh, I got a little skin tag here and stuff. That's alright too. So we'll pull that away a little bit. Just makes it really look like it's falling off. It's raining outside, which is always good for making creepy things. Normally, I have music or something playing while I'm creating. It definitely helps the creative process. It's kind of like when you say nice things to your plants. I think it really helps stuff come along. Alright, so, how are you guys enjoying these videos so far? I appreciate the comments that I've been receiving. I have gotten some comments and very positive feedback. If you have any constructive feedback, I'm absolutely willing to listen as long as you can stand by your stance. I belong to a couple like movie groups and stuff like that, and it always drives me nuts when people are like, what did you think of this movie? And people are like, it sucks. And it's like, okay, you're more than welcome to agree that that movie sucks, but why does it suck? Like, tell me why it sucks. Like, justify your argument, you know? It doesn't help, right? I mean, it helps if you go, hey, you know what? I'm a slasher fan, so this movie was more a psychological thriller, and it just was really kind of boring to me, and the slow burns, you know, don't do it for me. Me, I'll watch anything as long as it's intelligent and, you know, interesting and somewhat new concept. As long as it's got a good story to it, I can get past bad acting if there's a really good kind of plot and story. I cannot get past great acting if the story is terrible. So before I started sculpting this face today, one thing you want to do, probably, is do a bit of research. So if you want to sculpt a different kind of face, oh man, I can't believe how out of focus that is. Sorry about that. If you want to do your research, so I looked up chubby faces. Now, unless I'm doing like a real character, like somebody that's supposed to look like I've sculpted Pinhead before, I've sculpted Freddy Krueger before. So unless you're really specifically looking to emulate a character, Bruce Campbell I've done, obviously, then you can pull up lots of pictures of them and then have like 2 or 3. You can print them off and post them around you, try and get like profile pictures, try and get them making different expressions, try and get them from different angles, that sort of thing. So you really get an idea, and you can turn your piece and see that you're kind of on the right track. You know what I'm saying? But in this case, where I'm trying to make this look like just a chubby person, I don't want to insult somebody by sculpting somebody in particular and say, but if you're looking for unique features or interesting features, always look it up and get a few ideas in mind, and then I like to close it so that I'm not heavily influenced by a particular actual person or anything. So here, you see I'm doing these little lines. That's because these are going to be like stretch marks. We're going to have this pulling right up into the top lip. Everything on the cheeks and everything is going to be very sallow and pulling down. So here, you kind of see the double chin is drooping down, right? I'm going to try and build this. Really make this lip look a little more kind of plump. Still want it to look like it's kind of, because it has to go around this other guy's head, we really want it to look like it's coming kind of down and around because that's what gravity would do, right? So it's kind of wrinkled because it's sitting on the top of this other guy's head. Don't worry about here too much if you're mixing clay and stuff like that, because obviously this is a severed head, so we're going to add some bit of blood and gore and stuff in here, like it's dripping down the other guy's head and stuff. Anyway, the other thing that you can do is try taking selfies of yourself. Not that I'm saying you're a chubby person, but I'm saying you can try taking selfies of yourself, making different expressions. If you have friends, if you have a hard time doing that, if you have friends who encourage your work and everything, ask them to pose for you, right? Take some pictures, take some action shots. If it's them, if you're looking to do like a full body pose kind of thing and you want them, you want to see how the body reacts, you want to see the muscles, you want to see anything, have somebody scream at the top of their lungs at you and take their picture. Have somebody, like, make somebody really laugh and take their picture. And that's when you really start to see kind of the muscle structure. That's when you really start to see what happens in the eyes, because all these emotions and all these facial expressions, there's so many muscle structures inside that make or break it. So it's, you can make a person smiling, but how many times have you heard, I knew they were not really smiling because it wasn't in their eyes. Their eyes weren't smiling, right? Because your eyes smile. When you're truly happy, your eyes smile. How many times have you, like, somebody has given you the death stare and their mouth is not really making any expression, but their eyes are just right through you and their nostrils are flaring? These are all things where it's like I focus on, because I believe it's important to really bring kind of that face to life. Okay, now we're gonna try and do, what do I want to do? Do I want to do cheeks? Do I have enough clay to do cheeks? Should I do top lip? Let's do cheeks. So with the clay that I got left from what I mixed, to keep it consistent, everything is in pairs, right? So your cheeks, your eye bones, your ears, those sorts of things. The stuff that isn't are like your lips, your nose, your forehead, and stuff like that. But everything else, the easiest way, I got some red thread in there from yesterday. Get out of there. The easiest way to keep your face symmetrical and consistent is take whatever clay you want to use and try and break it as equally in half as you possibly can. So you have the same amount. There's a little bit more on this side than there is on the other side. So you know that you have the same amount of clay on either side of the face, right? Because otherwise, once you've blended one and you start making a piece, you're like, yeah, that kind of looks like it's about the same size. And then you start to put it in. See, now I think we're going the opposite direction. And then you try and put it in and you're like, whoa, no, that was like way too much. And now one eye looks really big and the other eye looks really small. So make enough clay that you can do both parts whenever you're doing two parts, so that you can balance both of them. Okay, so because I started doing the muscle tissue here, I want to continue doing that muscle tissue. So I am going to do the chubby cheeks. Now we're going to be able to add on to it. So mostly what I want to do is get that muscle tissue in there. So when I get the orbital bone, so when people are large or, have kind of large features or they're sagging and that sort of thing, they tend to have a more square face. So we're going to focus less on this orbital bone and making it look like, sallow, and that we're really getting the skull definition. And with larger people, you more want kind of almost less detail in it, because it's like, oh, well, he's bloated, or it's coming apart. So we're going to follow that muscle tissue up into here. You can make it look a little jagged, like it's getting ready to snap or what have you. Yeah. And then what you can do, let's see if I can find it, is take that round tool that I did before that we used for like eyelids and stuff. And now we'll just kind of push this in so that the muscle looks like it's going under the skin. and that we have these ragged pieces of skin here that are starting to deteriorate and fall away. Go back to our round tool, blend that down into our face. Sorry, kind of got out of the camera there. So you see here, now it looks like the muscle's going up into the face. We can push the skin kind of back a little bit. We can use sharper tools to kind of make it look like the skin's pulling back a bit. But again, we still want gravity, so everything's going to be pulling down. That was my own fault. I let that slip for a bit. Back to our round tool. Blend some of it in. Now, the good part about doing a skull is you have a natural chin line that you can follow up. So the chin is going to go up to the bottom of the ear. Right? So we kind of see, remember we have that line that comes down here. So we kind of want to maintain that a little bit. Even though there's not going to be any skin here, you still want to have, we'll have like this part of the skin hanging down. We got that muscle tissue there. And then we'll build this out so it's a little bit fatter and comes down into these chubby cheeks. Okay, so we're pretty happy there. We can add some texture if we wanted to, right? Some modeling, because that is where the skin is really starting to kind of deteriorate and such. So let's add some texture. Now this texture really comes out when we're doing paint. So you're going to do the same as we did with the gums and the teeth. We're going to do like a greeny, grimy kind of dark red in places, greeny, grimy, black in some places wash, so that it really creates depth and it looks like that's where the skin is really, the necrosis is really sticking in with the skin. 22-minute videos. So we're probably going to end up, so we're going to do similar to this on the other side here. Because it's further down over here, we're probably going to end up with a little more fat on this side, resting on the top of this guy's forehead. Right? Just naturally. Just a little bit more chub over here on this side. Anyway, as I'm building, somebody was asking me today what my favorite part of sculpting is. And they said that their favorite part was painting. And the painting does absolutely add to the piece. Absolutely. When we start painting this, you will see how much more of it comes alive. So I totally understand that. I totally get how painting creates the excitement in a piece. But for me, I like to say that my favorite part is problem solving. Everything I kind of do is hypothetical. It's why I do one-of-a-kinds as opposed to kind of mass producing. So I don't cast. I don't, some people will sculpt big, like a really big piece, like, and then they will scan it, and then they'll 3D print a bunch of them really small. And that's a good way to get lots of details into a very small piece and that sort of thing. But I like a challenge of trying to sculpt that small and make it realistic. I'll show you, for example, here. Hold on one second. Where did he go? So yeah, absolutely, you can build something big and it kind of is easier. But I like a challenge. I like hypothetical. I like making myself see. So this is an example of a foosball guy that I built. So you guys have seen, hopefully you guys have seen the foosball tables that I make and everything. But I need to put all the facial features and everything into something. I have to try really hard to try and make something look like someone when it's actually only about the size of my thumbnail. And you also have all this plastic and stuff that you have to build over to try and make it and still make it look realistic. So there are challenges, and to me, that's the joy of sculpting, is taking it apart. So for example, here is a Hannibal Lecter foosball guy that I'm making, and he's about the size of my thumb. Quid pro quo, Clarice. Anyway, so you see, I like a challenge. I could very easily sculpt these much bigger and then try and 3D print them into something smaller. I think 3D printing is cheating. And also, as an experimental artist, as a hypothetical artist, as somebody who does one-of-a-kind pieces and so on and so forth, once I'm done with something, it's really not something I want to do over again. I'm like, can I do this? And then I do it. And I'm like, yes, I can. Or, no, I can't. And after I'm done, after I've tried everything and I've exhausted myself and I've been successful, that's done. I've proved to myself that it can be done. So I don't want to do it over and over and over again. So if you see a piece and it's sold, please don't ask me to do it again, because it's not that I'm upset. I'm happy that more people want my work, but like, I can't remake the same piece 3 times in a row, because it will drive me crazy. It will absolutely drive me batty, because it's like, I know the tricks. I'm not thinking about how I'm going to build it anymore, and I just go into autopilot, and to me, it's not being creative anymore. It's now just repetitive. So I really do struggle with it. I do commissions from time to time, but I really need to feel strongly about the project in order to do something like that. One of the tutorials we're going to be doing in a short little bit is actually a commission. It's a nutcracker. I do Christmas nutcrackers every year, and it's a nutcracker of the nun from the Conjuring universe. So that will be fun, and I get to show you guys kind of some of the stuff that I do there. Okay, so I'm pushing the skin back. Skin's going to droop down here. Alright, I kind of want to keep going and doing the top lip, but I'm running out of time for this video. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of stop here. So it looks a little weird right now, but that's because we don't have like the skin and stuff on the rest of the face. So when I add the skin and stuff on the rest of the face, you're going to see how this comes together. But for right now, I'm going to take a stop, and maybe I'll start a second video for today, and I'll do the top lip and that sort of thing. But I don't want to make my videos any longer than like 30 minutes at a time. Otherwise, you guys get bored and can't sit through it and that sort of thing. So, all right, so there's the start of our second skull, the chubby face. And either later today or tomorrow, I will post another video doing like the top lip and stuff. Okay, cool. Thanks very much for watching. Please remember to leave comments. Thank you to our friends at Lovecraft Easing for sharing our work. Thank you to Abe's Epoxy Sculpt for making such a fantastic product. I'm gonna still do a few touch-ups while you guys are gone, but you get the basic gist of it, of where we're going and what we're doing, and seeing what we're trying to accomplish here. And yeah, so thank you very much. Enjoy your day. Hopefully it's not raining where you are, and we'll talk to you next time.